what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast that we love. It is the Listen Up podcast, homework room for Up. I'm JT, and I'm with the man.
Trapper Barnes, how's it going?
Man, it's going good. I'm excited. I'm excited for this episode, especially. I love them all, man, but this is this is a topic that we've discussed over the years so many times. I know it affects everybody, and I think it affects every aspect of people's life, whether we're talking about physical, whether we're talking about our relationships, whether we're talking about our spiritual life. And that is being busy. That's adding so much to our plate. Life can be chaotic,
hmm
and it ebbs and flows. And a lot of time when things take a downturn, when we think that it's not going the way that it should, or it's just a little too chaotic or ineffective, we're just not doing good. I have a tendency to add things to the plate. I try to make improvements by making additions to the things that I need to do. And
Almost like enhance to
yeah,
get better.
yeah. So I can I would equate it to if you're writing a paper and you keep reading that paper and you're like, it's okay, um, it's good, maybe. But if I just add this sentence here, add this word here, it'll be better. And the truth is, oftentimes, whether it's in our writing or whether it's in our life, it's not that we need to add something. It's we need to take something away.
Yeah.
And so today's episode we are calling back up, and more specifically, back up to the basics.
hmm
What do you think of that?
And I love that because we talk about it in our work life, we
Mhm.
talk about it in our family life, we talk about it in every aspect of what we can do. And a lot of times we try to overcomplicate stuff
Yes.
instead of breaking it down to the ridiculous.
Mhm.
Like we always talk about how do you eat an elephant?
One bite at a time,
One bite
baby.
at a time. So I believe in that if we can simplify
Yeah.
our process or our routines
Yeah.
or just the things that we do day in and day out, you simplify it all the way down to the ridiculous,
Mhm.
you get even better.
Yeah, no, I agree with that 100%. And I think that one, the first thing is we have to identify, like, what are the
Yeah.
basics? What are the fundamentals that are necessary in order for me to achieve my goals? Like, let's take an easy one. Let's take fitness and wellness,
Mhm.
right? I was joking with you and our producer Tiffany earlier. I was saying, like, my vitamin and supplementation regimen started off with like 3 bottles.
Yeah.
It was like vitamin D, magnesium, and something else, right? And I was doing great. I was taking it every night before I go to bed. I was feeling better. And then I would read an article and I would add something to it. And then I would add something to it. And I look up and now I've got this container by my bedside. And if I'm lying, I'm dying, brother. There's like 15 to 20 different bottles there. Well, it gets a little overwhelming because then
Yeah.
you're like, well, I'm going to drink this much water to take these many supplements, which means I'm going to be up all night.
Yeah.
All the things, right?
Yeah.
But I think that's a great analogy for life. Like we don't just do that with supplementation. We do that. We do that through a series of yeses, right? Think about your church life. A church is a wonderful place to grow. But like, what is the foundational principle of a church? It's to develop a relationship with God,
Yeah.
and we have a tendency to support that, to say yes, let me do this, let me do this, yes, let me do this, and then what many people, myself included, may find out is that we've said yes to so many things, either at church or at work or at home, that we've lost sight of the foundational principles that um, that were enriching our life in the first place. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And then you're stretched so thin to saying yes to everything that you really aren't good at anything.
Yeah, yeah. You're adequate at all that you're doing instead of being great. So I know that's happened in my life. Happened in yours?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's very easy to your point, like it's very easy to say yes because you want um our personalities are to help people, like and grow our teams and grow our friends and family, right? And encourage them to do things. And so it's easy for us to get involved in everything that we think is important.
Yeah,
Not that it isn't important,
sure.
but maybe we have to. prioritize the things that are really going to move the needle for us.
Yeah. I wrote a couple things down. I wanted to get your opinion. I was reaching for glasses that weren't there. So I wrote a couple things down because we would agree that if I'm guilty of it and you're guilty of it, everybody's guilty of it. We all have a tendency to overwhelm the process,
Yeah.
to keep adding. So there's a couple things that I had read that I wrote down. And when we, not if we find ourselves there, but when we find ourselves in a situation where we need to stop, back up, get back to the basics. A couple things that I thought were interesting. Number one, we need to identify what truly matters. And I wrote this down. What are one or two foundational habits that drive success in that area? And then two, ask yourself, am I overcomplicating things? And this is the one that really spoke to me. Am I overcomplicating things by chasing distractions or unnecessary complexity? So distractions. How much of our life is really like we may think it's adding to the process or adding to the quality, but how much of it is really just us adding distraction?
This right here is
Mm,
probably the biggest distraction. And you hear people talk about it all the time.
sure, sure.
You can't go oh man, I left my phone. I gotta turn around and go back and get
Yeah,
it. We didn't have it when we were kids.
yeah,
We didn't have it. Now kids these days are,
sure.
they're born with a phone in their hand, it seems like. But social media, work emails, um, television,
Right.
Netflix, you can watch TV on your phone now. Like all of that is compiled a mountain of distraction
Yeah,
in our lives.
right. And to be clear, you're not saying a phone is a bad thing.
No, not at
A
all.
phone can be an amazing tool to help you track nutrition, help you read scripture, help you
Yeah.
send emails for work,
Yeah.
to text the ones that you love to stay connected. But it can also, to your point, it can be a massive, massive distraction. I know I found that to be true. There are times that, like, literally, I will have to take a break
Yeah.
from the phone. It can be overwhelming. Just the pings and the notifications, and you just feel this urge to respond.
Well, every Sunday morning at
Mm,
9 o'clock,
yeah,
Apple tells me how many hours I spent on the phone this week.
yeah,
What was my screen time?
yeah,
And sometimes you look at it and you go, wow, what did I do?
yeah,
All right. Well, I wasted 10 hours or 5 hours of my week. Um, and some of it wasn't waste. Some of it, like you said, was
sure.
being productive. But at the end of the day, like if we don't back up and look at that screen time that says, hey, check yourself,
Yeah,
back up, and what could you do better every single week or get better at every single week if you cut that in half?
yeah, yeah. Just making small tweaks, backing up, reducing what's on your plate can make a huge difference. I want to hurry up and I want to get to number two because this is something that I hear you say all the time. I know our time is limited. We try to keep this to approximately 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Um, but when I read this, I was like, so two, cut out what's not serving you. And I'll just read. It says
Yeah.
busyness is not the same as progress. We often add more commitments, strategies, and tools when what we really need is less. And I've heard you so many times in my life talk about busyness is not progress. What are your thoughts on that as far
Yes.
as stepping up to the basics?
Yeah. I heard this quote and it goes along with that. Like a long time ago, and it was, I think I may have referenced this in one of our other podcasts, but I was listening to I believe it was Denzel Washington giving a commencement speech
Yeah.
several years ago. And he said that his mother always told him, you can't confuse movement with progress because you can stand and run in place and you're not going anywhere. And so that right there is very similar, right? But I mean, it is a proven fact that when you take things away, you're able to slow down and focus on things that get you to your goals, that get you to the place you want to be, that gives you more time to focus on the important things instead of whatever is distracting you in your life today.
It's funny as you're sharing that, I am reminded of a story that I haven't thought about in probably 20 years. I had an outstanding, I had many great coaches in my life. One outstanding coach was a gentleman, he was a basketball coach, and his name was Jeff Stout. His name still is Jeff Stout. And Coach Stout told me a story one time. We were on a school bus driving back from, we had a great team. Well, we had a great team that year, and we had actually just suffered a defeat. We'd been we'd had a loss, and you think he would, a typical coach is yell this and you guys got this, and no, he was very he took an intellectual approach. He said, JT, let me tell you something. He said, you take the best basketball team in the NBA. This is the team that is destined to win the championship, and I promise you, at some point in the season, they will experience an extended losing streak. And he said, you know what a great coach does? And I said, no, sir. What do they do? He said, a great coach, when his amazing team experiences that lull, he said he takes the playbook and he cuts it by half. He throws out half the playbook. And I was like, well, why would he do that? They're great. He goes, because no matter how great you are at anything, sometimes in life, things aren't going to go your way. And when that happens, you get back to the basics. You throw out half the plays and you go back to what made you great in the first place.
Yeah.
And I have never forgot that message. And so it's a reminder and an encouragement to me that when I feel like I'm losing control or things are getting away from me, or I'm just experiencing I'm just not experiencing the success that I want, I'm reminded of Coach Stout's words. And I think about the playbook of my life. And I ask, what can I cut out? What can I simplify, reduce to the ridiculous, so that I can get back to the basics of what makes life great in the first place?
Yeah, and you're sitting there telling that story, and it started like thinking of other things. And honestly, I lost it. I don't know where it went. It may be in my back pocket at this point.
Too much going on in
Yeah,
your head, man. You
yeah.
got the basics.
And it here's what happens, right? The really successful entrepreneurs,
Mm.
the successful family leaders, our spiritual leaders, all of the people that are able to slow down and identify that the noise is too loud and we need to reduce it back down to make it easy. Those are the people that that win. They hit their goals. Whatever goals they are, they hit their goals because they're able to identify, I got too much stuff going on.
Yeah. So our encouragement to our listeners out there this week, and I'll look straight at you while I say it, guys, here's what we want you to do. We know your lives are busy. We know that you've got a lot going on. We know that you've got a lot that you want to achieve. But our encouragement today is just to sit down and identify, where has life gotten too busy? The intentions were good. They were noble. But where has life gotten so busy that you need to stop, back up, get back to the basics, throw out half the playbook, and get back on the winning track.
I love it, man. It's great. This is good encouragement, JT.
Yeah, and it's something that we all need to hear from time to time. So, guys, here's what we would ask of you. Please, like, follow, turn on notifications, leave us a comment. That way, we know that we're having an impact in your world, and that certainly helps us as we continue to come up with content that not only is intended to help you, but we live every day in our lives too. So,
absolutely.
With that, thank you for listening to the Listen Up podcast, home of Room for Up. I'm JT. He's
Trevor Barnes.
You guys have a great day. We'll see you down the road.